So, today's talk is called Absolute Good. Not just somewhat good, but absolute good. Well, absolute, we know, means there's no undoing it. If it's absolute, that's the way that it is. And I do seek to talk in absolutes from the pulpit here. I don't always seek to live them in life, but I do seek to talk them up here because we've got to start somewhere. And if we know what the absolute is, then we can decide what we want to raise our vibration to, what we want to raise our thinking to, what we want to raise our behavior to, and go from there. But for the realization, absolute good. Well, if God is absolute good, fantastic, and I believe God is absolute good, but I haven't placed a personality on God. If God has a personality, God's not really. God's iffy at best. God could change God's mind about me, and I don't care for that. What I loved about unity is when I found out God could not change its mind about me. God could not get mad at me. God could not get mad at the one I'm mad at. What a relief that is. That God's not mad at the people I'm mad at. And God's not afraid of the people I'm afraid of. And here's even better. God's not afraid of me, even though there are some that have expressed concern about me. I don't think anybody thinks I'm dangerous, except that I might say something that could make them uncomfortable. Somebody at the Unity Convention said that to a friend of mine. She said, I just never know what he's going to say. So I'm afraid to be around him. I said, okay. It's like, what am I saying that is so... And he said, you say what the rest of us are thinking but are afraid to say. Okay, I'll go with that. And I don't mind that. That's what gives me a club act. But absolute good. If God is absolute good, and I believe God is absolute good, and that's not idealistic thinking. I believe that G-O-D is absolute good and cannot be changed no matter how hard I try. And because of that, I also believe that I am absolute good in the essence of my being, and that cannot be undone no matter how hard I have tried. And I have tried pretty hard. Only because I forgot. That's the only reason any of us try to shift ourselves from being absolute good. It's because we forget. Well, that's forgivable. I can get over that. Oh, I forgot. And you forgot sometimes, and they forgot. But remember, when people forget that we are good, it's only because they forgot they were good. They didn't forget I was good first. And when I forgot that whoever was good, then it's because I forgot about myself first. Oh, I forgot I was good. Capital G, good, has nothing to do with behavior. And it has nothing to do with how I feel. It has to do with the essence of my being. It has to do with what I am as opposed to what I think I am. Are we clear on the difference? Let's all relax and breathe more easily that we are what we are and we're not what we think we are.
I am what I am, and that's all what I am.
Exactly. And we can't describe what I am. I could not accurately describe to myself or anyone else the good that I am. Nor can I accurately describe the good that you are to myself. Because there aren't words to describe this kind of good. It'd be like me asking you, what is love? What is love? Anybody? Can you tell me what love is? Yeah, but that's not telling me. Exactly. And so you can't accurately describe what love. There aren't the right words. There aren't enough of the words. What we'll end up coming down to somewhere in there, well, it's nice. And we will so limit it by that. I look in the mirror, I can come up with a lot of descriptions, positive and negative, if I look in the mirror. But I don't want, any of those descriptions would limit me. Any of those descriptions would try to make me what I am not. and what I am is absolute good. Could you bear that, to know that you are absolute good? I am absolute. Let's just say it together. I am absolute good. I'm not going to ask you to believe it at this moment. So I was with a friend the other night, and I was talking about looking in the mirror and saying, "Hi, God." I do that in the morning, and you have to smile. Hi, God. There's no criticism in that. He couldn't do it. We were sitting in front of a big window at a diner, and he couldn't do it. He said, "Oh, no, I'm afraid I'll be smoked down." And I thought, okay, that was still a sin to him, some sort of a blasphemous thing, to identify himself as a God being. And I am a God being me. Not a God, I am God being me. And I don't have to understand that, but I believe it. Well, the first time I heard it, I thought, okay, that seems logical to me. A lot of things I heard in Unity were very logical to me, even though I couldn't explain them. But I was so relieved to find out there were other people who understood this as I understood it. Again, no words to describe it. And if I could bear the discomfort of not being able to describe the good that I am and the good that you are, I can get through my day a lot easier, and I don't have to base my good, the good that I am, on my circumstances. Because I can walk into a very uncomfortable room and completely forget who and what I am. I can walk into a plan that changed and completely forget who and what I am. I did it on Friday. David took me to a rehearsal, and I was so not happy in that space that day. And I let him know it. And once I let him know it and he didn't resist me, I went on about my business. I was fine. That was really an incredible moment. I got to tell you. He said, "Why don't you come? We're going to do costumes." David has a show opening next week. And we're going to do costumes today, and it starts at 3. At 4, there wasn't a costume to be seen, nor was there very functional air conditioning in a small, dusty theater. And it was chaos. It was just chaos around there. I wasn't having a good time. And I had to let somebody know it, and I felt it was better to let David know it than somebody he works with, a coworker. And he just, I understand. Yeah, I know. So I went out and got something to eat, and a cold beverage, and read my book for a little while in a nice air-conditioned place. And then I came back about half an hour, 45 minutes later, still not a costume to be seen. But I wasn't in such a foul mood. Somehow, my pain was seen. Not somehow, David chose to. And I could remember who I was again. And what it taught me is, we need to just witness one another's discomfort rather than think we have to fix it. Rather than think, oh no, they're broken, I'm broken, somebody's broken here, if I can't fix. He couldn't undo one single thing for me. He couldn't fix the air conditioning. He couldn't throw some costumes on some people. He couldn't turn back time and let me go back home. There was nothing he could do but listen, and he did. It was a valuable lesson for me on what I can do in my compassion, in my love. I was brought up, I don't know if I was brought up, but I definitely was not brought up to do this, but I heard about it in Unity. That you can pray, and in your prayer time, you're allowed to complain, but you don't want to make too much use of complaining time in your prayer time, because that's not what you want to manifest more of. We want to use our prayer time to manifest what we want, to affirm what it is we want, rather than to get on the prayer line, the invisible prayer line, with what we call God, to tell God what an awful day we're having, or what an awful life we're having, or what an awful body we have, or how sad our friends' lives are, or our families' lives are. That's not what we want to be doing in our absolute good. We want to work past the current situation, the current discomfort. We want to work past that and into the truth. Unity's pioneers, not just Unity, new thoughts pioneers, our antecedents of New Thought. They knew that complaining about their sickness would not make them well. They knew that trying to heal in the physical realm was not going to get them well. I'm going to read you one thing here. The book Spirits in Rebellion. It's the history of New Thought. It's a very thick book, and it's a wonderful book, and I highly recommend it. You could also go to truthunity.org, Organet, and listen to Eric Butterworth's 12-part series on the antecedents of New Thought. He did a 12-week course on this, on basically using this book. It's wonderful. It tells about the history of New Thought and how it came about. But it says here that about all the different faiths in the New Thought movement, all agreeing upon the central fact that healing, and for that matter, every good thing, is possible through a right relationship with the ultimate power in the universe. Creative mind, called God, principle, life, wisdom, and a dozen other names by one group or another, since man in his real nature is essentially divine. They all agreed that a right relationship with the ultimate power. A right relationship. And that's not meaning we have to please some old personality. That means we have to understand it. The starting point, this comes from Emily Cady's book, How I Used Truth. Emily Cady wrote the foundation book of Unity, which was Lessons in Truth, which is Lessons in Truth. But she wrote another book called How I Used Truth. And she says that the starting, actually this is from Charles Fillmore, the starting point in spiritual realization is a right understanding of that one designated as the Almighty. Our understanding of God as the source of absolute good is indeed the starting point in spiritual realization. If the name of God has only meant to us some outside power, some being withdrawn from our lives, a creator who has left us to struggle alone in an unfriendly universe, then we do not have a right understanding of God, our creator. In such an event, the speaking of God's name does not designate the truth, but only our limited conception. When we have an understanding of the nature of God as all the good there is, every time the name God, or any name used to designate God, comes to our attention, we become conscious that there is but one presence and one power as the universe, God the good, omnipotence. God is spirit. Spirit is not matter, and spirit is not person. In order to perceive the essence of being, we must drop from mind the idea that God is circumscribed in any way or has any of the limitations usually ascribed to persons, things, or anything having form or shape. Get understanding of that. Grasp it. Take it in. Let it your understanding of God is not already in that transformation, let it become that way. There's not much more that will help you in your prayer time, in your manifestation. I'm going to read it again. Spirit is not matter, and spirit is not person. In order to perceive the essence of being, we must drop from mind the idea that God is circumscribed in any way or has any of the limitations usually ascribed to persons, things, or anything having form or shape. Let your God be shapeless. Let your God be formless. Let your God be invisible, but present in all the physical. Let that be your God, that is infinite idea in everything you see, everything you touch, but everywhere you are. If we have to meet a situation of inharmony with anyone, and we turn first in our thoughts to God, The very recalling of God's name should remind us that God is in charge. To know God as the only presence and power is to let the law of love bring about harmony and peace where there has been the appearance of disorder and inharmony. Because God's name, quotes, designates absolute good, it thus includes health, vitality, wholeness. Should we be facing a challenge of ill health in our own body or in that of a dear one, we will find that just the speaking of God's name can center our mind on God's life, moving as the only activity in the body. And last paragraph. Having accepted the truth that God is all the good there is, we come to know God as the source of our prosperity. No matter what appearance of lack may be manifesting in our outer experiences, we need to hold to the truth that God is all good, to turn our thoughts Godward, to make them channels for the free flow of God's substance, i.e. ideas of abundance into our life and affairs. Because God's name designates absolute good. Well, God's name is, anybody? I am. What are you associating your I am with? Do you associate your I am with absolute good in your mind? What are you declaring for your I am? Because that's what you're manifesting, not out of punishment sometimes, but out of your power. It's what I do out of my power. I claim my I amness with a little less than the highest of vibration. And that's what I see. And that's what I manifest. But again, I'm not being punished by principle, by law. I'm living in the results of it. As we go on our day today, I encourage every single one of us to remember God is absolute good. God is absolute, infinite good. God is all good. The nature of God is good. And God is principle. God is love. God is law. God is life itself. God is joy. God is intelligence. God is. God is. God is. And I am. I am what God is. I am power. I am presence. I am love. I am life. I am intelligence. I am presence. I am that which God is. And I have all the power in me to manifest, to demonstrate in the physical by way of the invisible. It is all absolute good. But if I don't like it, I can change it. If I don't like the good that I have manifested, I can change that to a different shape, a different style, a different color, a different experience. What I cannot take from it is the good. I cannot change my essence. I can't change your 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 essence. I can't change I can't even change his. I cannot change our essence. I can't make God be what God is not. So today is a great day for celebration. Because God is absolute good, and therefore I am. So it is.